gentleman here called Brother Sajjad Khan, and another guest will be joining us very shortly, so we'll come to that. Well, of course, why do we call this the M.A.D Hour, Brother Sajjad?
It's your unique character, Brother Zed.
No, we call this the M.A.D Hour because we are here today on Thursday, election day today, yes?
It is, certainly.
From 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. today. We call it the M.A.D Hour because it's make a difference. We are here to make a difference, right? So whatever we say, whatever we do is going to define tomorrow. Yeah. So, are we in a positive state of mind?
We certainly are. We're ready and ready to go.
Exactly. So we have also joining us today, we have Claudia Webb today, Honourable Member of Parliament. Can you hear me, Claudia? Well, she'll be joining us very soon. She'll be joining us very shortly. Good evening. Yes? Is she on?
It's Zoom. It takes some time.
Oh, okay. All right. Here we go. So she'll be on with us very shortly. Well, Brother Sajjad, if you'd like to introduce yourself today.
Hi, assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Sajjad Khan. I've been involved in the Leicester textile sector now for the last 30
Sorry,
years.
Sajjad, we can't hear you because you are too far from the mic. Without the mic, it's not going to work.
Like
But this is radio, my friend.
Yeah. We go again, Brother Sajjad. So many guests, they come and they sit a mile away from the mic and we can't hear them. So here we go.
Technical difficulties. Sorry, start again. Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Sajjad Khan. I've been involved in the textile sector for the last 30 years. We have been part and parcel of the textile sector here now. And we're part the fabric of the city as well. We recently have set up the Leicester Textile Federation to deal with some of the fallout that has happened from the boohoo scenario. We are now sort of trying to address certain issues that have happened over the last few months and trying to make a difference to see how we can move forward. So part of this remit of M.A.D Hour is to make a difference, and we're trying to do that through the Federation.
Well done. So how long has the Federation been established?
It's pretty new. We've only been going for about 5 months.
Of course, that is a very, very new organization, isn't it? Preceding yourselves, who was...
There was no real representation from the textile sector. It was just a case of small individual units that were sort of trying to make a difference. But we felt that the change had to happen from within the textile sector rather than somebody else coming in from outside and giving us direction and beating us with a stick. So I think the idea that we should do something for the sector ourselves was quite a new challenge, and therefore we wanted to address this through a collaboration with some of the other members or the other factories and sort of the fabric suppliers.
So I want to ask you a question now. How many factories are there in Leicester? Because as soon as you mention the word textiles, alarm bells start ringing.
Okay, the honest reality is nobody knows. Even the local government doesn't know. They've estimated the figures around 700. We have been working closely now with the De Montfort University, and we've come to a figure of around 800 factories. These are direct factories that are involved in the textile sector. Obviously, we have some sport industry as well, but as far as the actual sector is concerned, it's somewhere in the region of about 800 factories.
Of course, our research here estimates 1,000 factories. Our controller has been busy all day today and he's come forward with a figure of approximately 1,000 factories. But it's quite a lot of factories.
It's a lot of factories. We've also looked at the Oxford Economics research. That was research done by the LEP, the Leicester LEP, and they've also concluded that it's somewhere in similar sort of figures to what we've come up with. So, give or take, yes.
Of course.
A few factories.
Claudia, have you joined us? Yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
Great, because we lost your video then just now, but technology, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening to you, Claudia. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. It's a very, very busy day. Obviously, it's election day, so everybody's busy. It's
course,
one of the biggest elections outside of a general election.
Of course, today I always don't know whether it's an election or it's a selection. We always have a bit of a banter here in the radio. Is it an election or is it a selection? But
Well, you know, it's an election because the public go out and vote and they make choices. And obviously,
Great.
a lot of people spent a lot of years, many years ago, fighting for the right to vote. So it's a really important, whatever people choose to do, voting and it is the right thing to do. It's a democracy. We live in a democracy, and people should vote if they can.
well, we surely have been at the radio encouraging everybody to vote and get their skates on and make a difference. You know, don't sit outside the fence. We encourage everybody to go inside the ring, make a vote. And of course, throughout this program, we will be specifying again and again and again that pick up a pen and paper or get onto your laptop and write to your MP. Otherwise, you're not going to connect. Is that right, Claudia? How often do people? How many letters do you receive a week?
Well, look, if people should write to their MP if they need, help, assistance.
Email right now.
If they're not getting anywhere with certain bodies, or if they need their rights protected, they need support, then yes, certainly write to your MP. Certainly, I've had a tremendous amount of correspondence. It's been huge. Obviously, we've had a whole year of a pandemic that has really affected a lot of people, and so many people need assistance, and it has really turned a lot of people's lives upside down. And so my inbox is tremendous and huge, and I don't have enough hours in a day to get through everything and to help everybody, but I will help everybody. I will.
Right.
I'm very passionate about making sure that everybody is supported and is helped as best I can.
Now, we're going to all learn from each other today. We want to come forward with some serious solutions going forward, right? We've gone past the silent generation, the baby boomers, and we've gone through the Generation X, and we've gone through the millennials, and we've on to the Generation Z. Well, that's not me. My name is ZED. Generation Z is a single letter. But I'll introduce you to a new one, which you guys have not heard of before. Have you heard of Generation Swift, Sajad?
No, I haven't. Yeah.
What about you, Claudia? Have you heard of Generation Swift?
I've not heard of Generation
Come on,
Swift
guys.
at all.
We're going to make change for tomorrow's digital transformation of our city, our country. We need to know about Generation Swift. Generation Swift is S for Snapchat, W for WhatsApp, I for Instagram. Yes? F for Facebook and T for TikTok, Twitter.
Is Snapchat still around?
Oh, yes. Now,
Okay.
this Snapchat is for those...
You missed TikTok.
I said that at the end. The T was for the TikTok, Twitter, we call it. The T.
TikTok, Twitter. They're two separate companies.
It's a double one. The letter is Swift, the T. Of course, this is where we're going nowadays. Last week we had a young lad who introduced us to the Swift generation, and he says, "I'm from the Swift generation." He told the young politicians that you keep posting things through my door, I pick them up and I bin them, and you're wasting paper. And he said, you need to connect with me with all these social media platforms. You're not with it. So, of course, Claudia, our city has a huge percentage of young people. Surely. And we have to address that issue. So,
It does, but we also a city which is digitally excluded. We are a city that has not awakened to the digital networks that are out there.
well, we here going to change all that. We need digital transformation, Claudia. We need to
We
move
do,
on.
but that requires digital infrastructure, and certainly the pandemic has highlighted that we all need better digital connections, and actually it should all be free. This is a basic reality of communication now.
Yeah, of course.
So we need digital
RW is the new norm, Brother Sajad. Remote working. You know, that everybody's
and
working
a
at
lot of
home.
people aren't properly connected. So I'll be pushing hard for better digital connection. There's nobody should have to pay, you know, sums of 20,000 just to have digital infrastructure in order for them to be able to
Of course.
use
Now,
their
now
facilities.
we're going to go back, Claudia, to where we were discussing today is the textile industry in Leicester, right? And
Indeed,
first of
yeah.
all, we'll remember Richard Mitchell. Any one of you know Richard Mitchell, guys?
No.
Yes, Richard Mitchell. Does he ring a bell, Claudia? In your database, in your contact book, Richard Mitchell.
Richard, no.
Well, he's
I
no
don't
longer
think so.
with us. He died many years ago, and 1851 was when he set up one of the first factories in this city. So the concept of the factories as you know them today was pioneered by Richard Mitchell. So you can see all our factories around the inner city. The Victorian England was, all the factories were around the city, and that's today we're in a different world. We have a lot of people, we have traffic, and our population is scheduled to be what? What's our estimate after the 21 census, Claudia, for the city?
Oh, I don't know. We will see. We'll wait to see what the census
No,
says.
we did
but-
that last week, Claudia. I don't have a clue. That was last Thursday. This Thursday we have a clue. Sajjad.
Okay, your people will have done the research. You tell
No
me.
research. This is information I need from you to update my microchip in my head, right? My microprocessor
really?
needs updating. Yeah. Sajjad, any idea how many people live in
I'd
Leicester?
be guesstimating at 350,000.
Well, you're very close, but that was the previous census, 2018 that was, and now 21 is estimated to hit a figure of between 412,000 to 499,000. So it could be anywhere between there. And this is the
400
estimate.
and what was that said?
The figure is between 412 to 499,000.
That's just for the city alone.
Just for the city alone, right? So a lot of the factories in the textile industries are within the vicinity of the city area. So today, Brother Sajjad is. Did you catch his introduction earlier on, Claudia?
No, I missed the introduction.
Sajjad
sorry.
Khan, once again.
Hi, Claudia.
Hello, I can't see you, but I can just see myself. But I guess this is the way this is set up. But hello.
Hi. Just a little background in terms of we've been in the textile sector now for the last 30 years almost, supplying to some of the biggest brands in Europe. We have recently moved on to do e-commerce ourselves, so we moved away from manufacturing to focus more on the e-commerce side of things. And with this boohoo crisis that we had recently, we obviously looked at seeing how we can sort of take the sector forward. And one of the things that arose from this crisis was that we set up a federation that sort of was mainly based from the sector itself. So the people that are involved are actually from the sector itself, and we all want to make a change. We're all working towards trying to make a difference in Leicester. So we want to put the past behind us and see how we can take the sector, which is the heritage of the city. You know, it's been around for almost 150 years. We want to take this forward, and we want to keep this heritage as well. But I think, having been in the sector for a number of years, we understand that it was due a change, it was due a transition. And I think it's been brought upon us by COVID and other external forces. So the idea is to take this forward and see how we can, change the city.
Of course, guys, now I must tell you, if I interrupt you, then please don't mind, because texts are coming in hard and fast, very quickly. Now we're going to hit everybody's questions. Claudia, I'm going to ask you a question here now. There's one question that has come in, is that there's no level playing field online against the retail shops that are left here retailing some of the clothing that is produced in the textile industry here, right? There's no level playing field. It's absolutely, during COVID time, been apparent that online is the new boss in town.
Well, I mean, clearly we've had to adapt to the situation with regards to the coronavirus and what that's meant in terms of social distance and what that's meant in terms of having to close stores. And so there has been a massive increase in online sales. But the retail sector tell me that once shops are allowed to open again, there is still a thriving desire for people to want to go out and actually feel the clothes that they want to wear and actually experience trying things on and so on. So I think we'll have to wait and see to see if that comes back. But what I think we'll see with the retail sector is a more agile sector that probably offers both online and retail and actual shops. Of course, we're all disappointed by what we were talking about Boohoo just now, what Boohoo were able to do, which was basically by collapsing British brands and purchase the brand name effectively, but close all the stores now, and therefore lose all the jobs. Now that isn't, that doesn't really bode well with I think the British public.
A bit of ATC there,
but what
Claudia.
we've now seen is obviously whereas everybody else has been in crisis, companies like Boohoo have actually been able to profit quite significantly.
Of course, everybody is going to understand, Claudia, that we have to adapt to change. There's a lot of things happening, and they're happening faster than we can comprehend. That's all of us have got to get our skates on, and if we don't, then we are going to be resistant to change, and we're going to sit here, complain all day long, and blame each other. So, Brother Sajjad, we need now to know that approximately 300 factories are going to close down. You mentioned to me earlier on.
Yeah, we've guesstimated it'll be around 300 factories. Many of them already closed down. Some are waiting for the furlough aspect to end. I think one of the biggest impacts is going to be around September time, but I've already noticed a lot of the factories have moved their production overseas as well. So we are not just losing work here, but we're also getting the work transferred over to our own competitors. I think one of the beauties of Leicester was that the fact everything was on the retailer's doorstep, and we're losing that advantage because of the fact that nobody is helping us to address the issues that we have here right now.
Well, I mean, look, we have. I don't know precisely the nature as to why garment factories themselves are closing, because clearly what has increased during the pandemic is more people purchasing clothes and more people eating food. And so the two industries that Leicester has is a food industry and a garment industry. And certainly workers that come to me talk about working 12-hour days, 7 days a week. That is the demand for garments. So we don't know what the nature is. I suspect it's something to do with the concept of fast fashion and that competing with more traditional garment manufacturing. But whereas fast fashion is booming, and therefore other more sustainable fashion may be in decline, I'm not sure. But you see, the fact that companies like Boohoo have severed ties with hundreds of suppliers, it reveals, in fact, a company that is actually more concerned with their own reputation than with protecting jobs. Because what it could have done, it didn't have to sever the ties with suppliers, therefore putting lots of people out of work.
Of course, I will stop you there, because there is some another school of thought to that, Brother Sajjad. As Boohoo, they don't actually physically work directly with those 100 suppliers that Claudia has mentioned, do they?
No, a lot of those.
Can you just run us through how the process and system is, because you are one of the manufacturers as well, and well familiar with the Boohoo family.
Yes, I just want to make a point that we don't supply to Boohoo. We haven't supplied to Boohoo for a number of years. Our main market was the Scandinavian market, so we focus more on Europe. But having said that, I know the Kamani family quite well. We have dealt with them in the past. The structure of Leicester is that predominantly one main factory will get the orders, and they will then subcontract them to their CMT units, who will then manufacture for them and send them back. All that has now changed. Boohoo has been a bit more stringent with their requirements, and so a lot of the CMT units have actually had to close up because one of the requirements was to make sure that the orders are done in-house so they can have a sort of a transparency and some trail on it.
Now, hold on. I must stop you there, right? Because you said the word letter CMT. You have to explain to our listeners what is CMT.
Cut, make and trim. So basically you're subcontracting large proportion of your manufacturing side out to other people. So there may be CMT units that specialize in just making up the garment. There are some that do the cutting aspect of it. There are others that do the finishing aspect. So if you combine the three together, that's how they come about with cut, make and trim.
Yeah, because somebody sent me a text just now saying that, does that mean cash made twice?
Okay.
Right, so you've got to be more clear on these things.
But Sajid, you know, Boohoo published the list of suppliers that it's going to retain,
Right.
and therefore made clear the list of suppliers that it was going to let go. In doing so, it meant that workers were approaching me for help because they'd lost their job because the suppliers that they cut, there was no longer work for them.
I think that the issue here, Claudia, is that initially there were a number of factories supplying to Boohoo, and then when all this crisis happened, there was notice given to many of these factories to clean up your act, which a lot of them did, to be fair. And then having done that, spending a lot of money making sure that they meet the targets, their aesthetics approved and so on. Even then, only a handful were selected. And I think one of the biggest issues is that so many people spent time, effort, energy and money to make sure that they can bring their factories up to par and have been told they're no longer required. So our concern here is to get the retailers, get the manufacturers, and obviously the local government involved so that we can make a combined effort to see what we can do. One of the things we don't want to do is lose the edge that we have in Leicester. Leicester has a vertical operation from knitting all the way up to sort of finishing the process in terms of dyeing, manufacturing the fabric, the making up aspect of it, and so on. So we're a unique position in Europe, not just in the UK, but in Europe, as to have everything within our doorstep. And we can use this advantage, and I think we don't want to be losing this. And this is where the local government, if they're not careful, come sort of September, October time, we'll have thousands of people, waiting for state handouts. We have an opportunity here to involve everyone, do some PR for the retailers. They owe Leicester a big favour. Leicester is what made them. The likes of ASOS, Boohoo, New Look, River Island, Next.
How are you going to hold them to account? Because the reality is that they operate on the basis of trading with suppliers on a race to the bottom in terms of price. How are we going to hold these brands and retailers to account? Because I think that more needs to be done to regulate the retailers and the brands, because it seems to me that they can just discard suppliers as and when they choose. They're marking their own homework. And that therefore means not only do the suppliers go out of business, but the workers go out of business. These are workers who've helped to build these brands that have enabled their profits. So how are we going to regulate the brands and the retailers?
I'm in with you on that one, Claudia. I think the retailers have been a bit naughty. They've not sort of held their side of the bargain up. They really could have done with helping the textile sector. We could have moved forward together. We could have done some research into how we can improve the processes here, improving the technology, the production methods, and how we can train people to be more productive. One of the things that we've been doing recently is I'm involved in the MIT REAP program, which is a combination of different sectors of the stakeholders in Leicester. We are collaborating with the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and the LEP to try to bring about change, not just in the textile sector, but in the city as a whole. So we've set up an innovation board. What we're trying to do with this innovation board is to see how we can address different issues in Leicester that arise so that we can make Leicester the innovation hub of the region.
Of course, Claudia will be picking up more in the second session of our program, because very shortly we'll be going for a break. But we have a lot to do, Claudia. All of us have to work together on this instead of pinning people down and blaming them. We need all these big companies.
There's no blame, but we have to be clear where power lies. If you're making extortionate profits and workers are left without work, yet these are the same workers that have helped to build those profits, then there's a power imbalance.
Yeah, it works both ways.
We have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to put some more onus on retailers and brands, and that means that I like this idea of greater innovation.
Of course,
and
I'm
technology.
going to interrupt here now because
that's fine.
We're
but
just going to go for a break now.
What do you do about fast fashion?
We're going to go for a break. We'll be back soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Brothers and sisters, you are listening to Zed on the M.A.D Hour on Ramadan Radio 87.9 FM. So keep on sending those texts in on 0774 8855 We have in the studio here today Brother Sajjad Khan. He's representing the Textile Federation. And we have also our Honorable MP, Claudia Webb from Leicester East. So if you have any questions for them, so do send your questions in. Don't be shy and don't blame or complain to me afterwards that you did not get a chance to speak to Claudia. So text her in straight away on 077 488 55055. So we're going to move on now to our subject today, which is the demise of the textile industry in the city of Leicester, with the job losses coming our way after furlough, and we're all concerned about that. Brother Sajjad, going to have a lot of impact in our community, isn't it?
It certainly is. It already has. The food banks have increased. The numbers at the food banks have increased, and it's shocking. We have spoke to a number of those people, and they're originally part of the textile sector. They're employees of the textile sector, and they're no longer getting the jobs that they were supposed to be getting. So the impact is already sort of upon us. We will need to sort of address this sooner rather than later. I think the idea that we can move these people into another industry is quite a difficult one, because these people are limited in their skill set, and to retrain them into a different sector will be quite difficult. So from a federation perspective, I think we need to address this issue by seeing what we can do within the sector itself to try to re-employ them within the textile trade.
Of course, and what to also bear in mind, Claudia, that this industry, this textile industry, you can walk into a factory and you may see 5 generations in there. You'll see the silent generation, the baby boomers, you'll see the Generation X, and you will see there is not enough young people coming on board, is there?
No, it's hard work, to be honest. It's not an easy place to work because of the intensity of the skills that are required. As we all know, that it's mostly based on fast fashion. Fast fashion means working fast as well, unfortunately. And this is where we need to now address these issues, that we can upskill these people, so that we're more productive with machinery rather than with sort of manual labor.
The reality is that the whole sector, in fact, all jobs need to change to a more of a green agenda, and everybody needs to change to create a more sustainable outcome. So there are lots of jobs actually in this industry waiting to be claimed.
Yes.
And actually the garment industry in Leicester, the last that I was told was that we were 10,000 workers and rising. That is a lot of workers in a city like ours. There's still a lot of garment factories. There are a lot of different types of factories. People are able still in Leicester to walk down a particular road and walk into any factory and ask for work. That is something that many other industries haven't been able to do for a long time now, but people are still able to do that. And the stories that I get coming back to me is that people have been laid off at one factory because the factory's had to close because it's lost its supplier status. They've gone to another factory, and that factory is still offering worse terms and conditions than they were previously on. They've then gone to another factory and been offered even worse terms and conditions. And in fact, just yesterday, an individual told me that the boss said that if they would have to pay back their holiday pay, they would pay them the minimum wage, but they would have to pay back their holiday pay. And so this particular worker declined all of those jobs offers because there were terrible terms and conditions being offered. That needs to be clean. Of course,
these when you're looking at 800 factories and someone will come forward with 1, 2, 3, 4 percentage-wise, you can't tarnish the whole industry with the same brush, can you, Brother Sajjad?
No, I think this is the unfortunate scenario here. We have some fantastic factories in Leicester, and they have been working for many, many years, producing garments at at a sort of well above the minimum wage rate. We're one of those people. We've always made sure that our factory that we work with are paying their staff at least above the minimum wage, if not the minimum wage. And there has been sort of a number of other factories that have been doing this. The unfortunate situation that's arose from this is that we, what we like to call ourselves ethical manufacturers, we've lost a lot of business as a result of the fallout from this. The whole of the city has been tarnished, which again, going back to some of the other manufacturers who shouldn't really be blamed for what's going on in Leicester are suffering as well. It's an industry-wide situation issue. So what we need to do, I mean, this is why we, as a number of factories and fabric suppliers, got together to make sure that we can do something from within. So the idea here is to get people together, have a chat, put them on, part of our federation, help them to improve their working standards, work on their requirements to make sure they're SEDEX approved or fast forward approved, whichever is the requirement for the retailer. And all those independent audits make sure that these people are working to a certain standard. So the idea here is to move forward, bring these factories up to par with the standards that are required to make them world leaders in manufacturing. We have a great opportunity now to move this forward. And one thing we need is assistance from the local government, the national government, and also from the universities. The universities have started to come on board. We've had chats with Keele University, Huddersfield University, and DMU. All of those are key to help us progress through innovation, through improving our working practices, and also using new high-end technology and fabrics that will make a difference in Leicester. I think it's time for Leicester to move forward from fast fashion. There will always be a limited
right here I'm going to bring Claudia in again. Now, Claudia, if you're at home and you've got a pipe which is part of your plumbing and it has 6 holes in it, what's going to happen in your house? You're going to have a flood?
I'm going to have a lot of water.
A lot of flooding, what we've got here is what he's talking about is we've got a pipeline here with a lot of holes in it, and we need to fix these leaks one after the other. We need to call the plumber.
Where you start with the fixing is ensuring that there are no more stories being told about the treatment of workers. The best defense in terms of against worker exploitation are unions. Not a single factory has union recognition. I had a meeting with SEDEX. You spoke about SEDEX. SEDEX is, of course, the body that helps organizations to be a bit more ethical, and it sets standards. Now, I had a chat with SEDEX. Boohoo, of course, is SEDEX registered, and yet Boohoo doesn't recognize unions. Now, one of the things that organizations like SEDEX need to do is stop being a tick box for organizations. We need to move beyond the tick box and into some reality.
Of course, that is for you guys to sort out.
What I would like to see is where those organizations that say that they are good employers, and I don't doubt that, because I come from a family that my mother in Leicester was a textile worker. So I understand this industry actually inside out because I grew up with it. But the change that we need to see is that we need to see where there are good employers, that they recognize unions, that they say that they're going to open themselves up to union recognition, and hopefully other organizations will follow suit, because that is the best line of defense for workers. I no longer want workers to come to me and say that they're not being paid properly in terms of wages, or that they're working 12-hour shifts and they're cold at night because the employer hasn't bothered to put on
Claudia,
any heat.
Right now, we're gonna put that as one of the leaks, the union, and we're gonna either, like Brother Sajjad has suggested, better we change the pipe instead of fix all the leaks, because there's too many leaks, too many holes in there, right? And we're going to address each and one of them and do this methodically in a logical manner, right? With the right bodies Because coming away from this,
we need to move quickly.
yeah, we coming away from this program today, we need to find solutions. We need to be solution driven, and everybody has got to come on board. So all of you listening right now who are in the textile industry, engage with Brother Sajjad. You can call in at the radio and talk to us, and we'll forward your details to Brother Sajjad, and through Brother Sajjad we can coordinate an effort, a combined effort, which all means that we do this together, Claudia, including yourself. Are you with us, or are you without us?
Ultimately, what I'm saying is this crisis has demonstrated the need for unionized, accountable workplaces that prioritize employee well-being. When we achieve that, we know that we'll have succeeded.
Well, that's just one part of the problem, but there are many other issues. Now, another key part here, right? I've got a message here just now saying that, guys, we need our government, our local government, our national government to support initiatives to assist new factories who are startups, or even existing factories, offer them tax breaks to get the economy started. That's what they're looking for. We need that as one of the solutions, Brother Sajjad.
Definitely. I think that's a great input from whoever sent that message in. One of the other things, I mean, we are a little bitter about as a sector is that the food park, for instance, has had a lot of input from the local government, and it has been helped to bring its standards up so that it can be kind of able to do things in the right way. I think maybe it's time for the local government and maybe the central government as well to help us to take Leicester into that kind of level of production. So what we could do is maybe address the situation of improving the standards that we have. And in order to do that, we need input. We need external help from, likes of our local MPs. Help us to address the situation. We can all sit here and say, this is wrong, and this is why as a federation that we want to take this forward. We want to get everybody on board, especially the retailers, because they are part and parcel of the solution. So if we can get them on board, the local government, we want them on board, because it's no point sitting back and watching the show. They need to be involved. They need to address the situation. Otherwise, come September, October, we will have thousands of people on the door.
Now, here we have another good message that has come in, is that we need to get innovative, we have to get creative, and we need to address this issue by even asking the Leicester manufacturers, up to 20 of them, to form their own retail version, selling directly into the stores, and for the stores to be told by the government that you need to support this initiative. So that is going to create a lot of jobs, isn't it, brother?
I think it's a great opportunity for the local, for the e-tailers and the retailers to get together and show some support to the city that has been part and parcel of their growth. And in order to do that, it will also give them great PR. I mean, all these online retailers need positive PR right now. As you can see, Boohoo share prices keep going up one day and then keep hammering down the next day. And why this is happening is because there is still that negativity out there. So one of the things they could address is come back and help us with some initiative to move the industry forward.
Okay, another one now has come in. Claudia, are you familiar with LFT? It's not Leicester Football Club. LFT is the Leicester...
LFC or LFT?
No, LFT. We're textiles today, not football, Claudia.
No, you said LFT.
LFT, yeah. LFT is the Leicester Fashion Technology.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a new setup there. The local government had spent 300,000 to set that up, and it's in Spinney Hill area.
I think that's what Sajid was speaking of.
Yeah.
It's slightly different. It's something that's been set up with as a collaboration between a company called Fashion Enter, Jenny Holloway, and the local government. They're trying to improve the skills of the people in the sector here by bringing in some new people in to be upskilled. I think one of the issues we have right now is that it's a great initiative, but right now we have a surplus of labor here. And the reason we have that is because there are people who have been working in this sector for many, many years who already learnt on the job. And these people can actually be utilized as well as the new people that are learning the skills. So let's not lose the people that we already have, rather add to that. And one of those things that can come about from this is that, we need to, again, I keep going back to the same situation, same scenario here, is to move this forward by getting everyone involved. If we lose the sector once and for all, we'll never get it back, and we will have huge issues because we'll have a number of people on the dole, and also we will lose heritage of the city, which is the textile sector.
We're all about keeping the sector. Nobody's about losing the sector. We have a lot of workers in the sector, 10,000 plus. One of the reasons why the food sector is able to be regulated is because actually there is a government legislation that regulates the food sector. What we need is the same regulations regulating the garment sector. You don't hear of food industries making billions, making billions of pounds. Let me just finish this point about the garment industry.
I have seconds only left.
What we want to achieve is something called a garment adjudication.
Sorry, Claudia, you have to stop a bit because we need to...
finish. Let's just finish that. We're almost coming to the end of the program now. And one of the messages that's come in is, according to the council, modern day slavery or immigration issues. There was no evidence found on that. So we're going to touch on that again another time. So guys, we have very little time left. So I'd like to thank our guests today who have joined us, and Sajjad, and one more message up there. Sajjad, if you'd like to read that for me.
I think there's double standards here, because one of the messages that's come through here is that the farmers pay European migrants peanuts to pick apples. This is a situation that's sort of cross-industry, not just within the textile
of course,
sector.
it's a pandemic. It's everywhere. This problem it's not only here in the city of Leicester, right? So we need to sort of address all these issues, like we said earlier on, Claudia, that we will have to set up a forum and collectively put everybody on the chair to pass their own ideas and views forward. Then you can pick it up from there.
This has to be change in terms of government change. We need a garment adjudication code that regulates the retail and brands.
Well,
so that
Claudia,
that there isn't a drive to the bottom.
You have to do the DTC.
That's what we'll be working on.
Claudia will do Are you up for doing the DTC, drive the change?
I'm already doing so.
MashaAllah, that's fantastic, right? So that's what we want. So we're going to get this after Ramadan. We're going to get a group together. Sajjad?
Sounds good.
Claudia, you'll be invited to that, and we're going to make a lot of noise and eat a lot of good food, right? And it will make a difference.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll have an industry that is balanced in terms of gender as well, so that we're not seeing just women making the clothes, men running the industry, but we have a more balanced gender orientated
That
industry.
is another topic
That's
now.
That's the change we need to see.
Just very 20 seconds left, Sajjad.
Just for reference, my wife is my boss. And
there
she's
you are.
been running the sector.
Exactly, that is true. Claudia?
Perhaps she'll be on the radio next time.
Next time. Claudia is also the boss. So thank you very much for joining us, Claudia. We're going to touch base with you very soon.
Okay.
Jazakallah, Sajjad.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. We shall see you next week.
Take care.